are the people who are building those structures, do they have the capabilities? That's another question. And when I say people, I am including engineers as well as workers and supervisors and everybody. So it's almost like this, that when you have to go for a bit of a treatment yourself, then you go and start checking out that who's the specialist, which is the best hospital.
Sir, I'm living in a house.
Yeah.
Now, what should be the thing that is appearing in my house which should alarm me and which should make me to go to engineer or go to somebody? I would like say if there is a crack, minor crack, it could be that plaster is peeling off, and it might not be a very big problem for the structure and all that.
Sure.
So certainly if I'll ask my mason to come and repair that. But it could be something else also. So how to find it out, that when to go, and then to whom I should approach for that sake?
Answer is like this, that when should you basically get alarmed and when should you go to somebody and do it? I tell you, the simplest of the thing is, the moment you see that there is a water patch that is emerging somewhere, always remember, in a house or in a building, water is a big detriment for that matter. And the moment it starts coming out, getting bad. The second manifestation that you have yourself said, that there are cracks and things like that which are coming. The cracks can be because of several reasons. There can be a settlement in the foundation. There can be just simple peeling of the plaster because it has not been laid properly, materials have not been good or something. This could be because of certain, critical stresses that might have come on the structural elements like beams and columns that you have there. And
How will I come to know of that?
Exactly. Now, as a layperson, you would not be able to know about that. You would be simply like a patient who goes to a doctor and says, okay, I am having tummy ache, that's it. Or I am having a headache. Or I am having a blurred vision or
So
something.
should I go to an architect? Should I go to an engineer?
No. This is where the deficiency in our system exists today. For this, you require the specialist who know exactly how to diagnose the kind of flaws and faults that are there. Unfortunately, we have been in a spree of constructing new structures for last 25 odd years. We have been simply constructing like, I would say, madmen. You have flyovers, you have roads, you have bridges, you have houses, you have airports, you have everything. And much of this construction is basically coming of age now. It is aging. It is like a human.
When does it come of age?
If it is badly constructed, it will come tomorrow or yesterday. If it is bad, it's like a congenital defect that you have there. A child is born with certain deficiencies. If you have not done it well, or alternatively, what will happen is, on an average, you can say that around, say, 15 to 20 years time, then you start realizing that there are things which are wrong.
Today we can see that some laws, like RERA for instance, has said there's a 5-year zero defect liability, which means that from the time the consumer takes charge of a house, for 5 years the developer has to guarantee it against structural defects and services, engineering services defects. For the first time in the country, we said that our assets must be of a certain quality. We've never done this before. But let's step back in time and say the new residential houses, especially multi-stories, what is the life of that building?
Very difficult to say that what is the life of this building. People do live for 100 years or even more for that matter. I'm talking of humans. Likewise, the buildings survive for 600 years, 700 years, 1000 years.
Not apartment complexes.
Just a minute. Let me come back to it. The apartment complexes or the houses that we construct, they lose their utility. They don't lose their life. Take for an example, a 2-bedroom kind of set that you have constructed in a cluster is meant for certain segment of people who are still in their youth, who have little children, school-going children, who have maybe set of parents. These are the people who are acquiring these houses.
Or alternatively, it is for people who can afford to buy that.
Well, we go to that question of affordability later. What I'm saying is utility for that matter. The observation is, and this is a research that we have been doing, that every 16 years, you lose the utility of a particular dwelling unit.
And globally, after about 20 to 22 years,
Yes.
houses come on the block.
Right.
Now here, we don't have that concept of, we have freehold properties,
Absolutely.
you have absolute rights, which
Absolutely.
means that your property is yours for eternity.
Because the problem here is the mindset also, mindset of the consumer for that matter. He connects the houses or properties to several things, social prestige, ego, emotions, and many other things for that matter.
Not safety.
Safety is absolutely another issue altogether.
No, the issue is today that
Yeah.
how can I make my house safe to live even for 50 years, 80 years?
So let's talk
So-
about the 16 to
Yeah.
18 years.
So that is the
When
important part.
in
Yeah.
that 16 to 18 years,
And where to go? You
Or-
didn't reply my question that whether I should go to engineer or architect.
Yeah,
Where to I go?
Jashri jumped in there. That's why I didn't reply
No,
that
no, no.
question. I was going to reply that question.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, it's like going to a doctor. Now you have a problem.
Sir, I have to go to engineer. Tell me
No,
which engineer
no,
should I
no,
go to?
That's the problem. You are basically jumping now and preventing me to answer your question. So kindly listen to me. Now you just don't go to a doctor. You go to a person who's specializing or having the specialized knowledge in this particular area. Now the sad news that I have to give you is that unfortunately the people who know the diagnostics in this country, or people who know how to exactly repair the structures or the assets that we have built, they virtually do not exist. That is the kind of dilemma that everybody is in. So you go to a doctor, he gives you some medicine without even realizing the kind of things, and ultimately you are never satisfied with the kind of results that are, because the proper treatment has not been done. In most of the cases, like you were saying yourself, you go to neighborhood mistri and you ask him that, okay, fine, this crack is there, what do I do about it? And he says, okay, fine, I'll have some mortar and I'll basically break open this particular thing and replaster it so that it is not visible to you. But then you are not in a position to really get down to the real situation as to what exactly is the problem like.
so who can do that?
Yeah.
Who
Right.
can
So,
do that?
so it is the people, and they are not existing in the country. This is what I am telling you. They are not existing. We have to create such people. As a matter of fact, let me also tell you something very interesting, and that is that this particular area has so much of potent business and so much of employment potential, and which we seldom realize. The matter of fact is, if you go out there and invest for that matter, or if you go to countries like Singapore for that matter, you will find that there are utility maintenance companies altogether, and they are largest companies. They are taking care of the kind of common assets which have been created. I am talking of malls, I am talking of the group housing societies and things like that. We don't have such kind of utility companies
For
available
the
in this
first
country.
time, we
Yeah.
have started getting facilities managers, we started getting
Yeah.
property managers,
yeah.
and at least in terms of maintenance, there is a professionalism that's coming in, which means that
It
if there
has
is a
started coming in. It has started coming in. But then this is precisely what I am
Now
telling
let's
you.
talk about the multi-story
Yeah.
boom that's happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Till a few years ago, most Indian cities used to have bungalow type development,
Mhm.
and now you have multi-stories, especially in new clusters like Gurgaon, Noida, Navi Mumbai,
Absolutely.
Thane, and so on.
Absolutely.
And Mumbai was a city which already had multi-story buildings. Now the thing is that Mumbai has a redevelopment plan.
It requires also, because
Yeah.
of the rain and all that,
Yes.
it requires planting.
A few years ago, when we asked one of the leading lights of the construction industry, there was a project in, I think it was with the Tamil Nadu housing, police housing, where there was a building that was going to be condemned. And Gammon was called in to check out that building.
Mhm.
What Gammon found was that actually there was one member that was spoiled. They suggested that after diagnostics they said that this saria is spoiled, and if you repair this, replace it, break down only here and repair it, and the building had a life of another 20 years. Now this kind of diagnostic is what we are talking about.
Well, I will add to that. You see, it is not, of course, I mean, you have explained it in a very simple kind of a
Yeah.
format.
No, recently sir,
Yeah.
there was an earthquake, and here in Delhi in one building, there was a crack in the pillars. In fact, The pillars normally they put a gel
There are
around
stirrups.
that.
There are stirrups.
Yes,
Those are
stirrup,
called
and it was
stirrups.
tired.
Yeah.
So that had opened up and the pillar had opened up.
Sure.
So he called up some engineer, that engineer was from DMRC, and he said that it has to be retrofitting and he put some injectables there so that it binds them.
Exactly.
And he
Now-
put a case outside that,
Right.
and it was retrofitted well and it is doing fine now.
No, this is
So-
this is where I want to give you a word of caution. You have to understand that the people who claim that they are into retrofitting today in this country, they only know such kind of things that they will inject it with something, they will wrap it, they will basically rejacket it, and then they will say that everything is fine. For the time being, it might appear to you that the structure is all hunky-dory and everything is going fine. But life is beyond that. You have to understand. That structure, again, I keep comparing this with the human body. You have a situation where the flaw lies
But
somewhere.
then where to go? I mean, that is the whole problem.
This is precisely what I am trying to explain to you. That the fact of the life is that there are absolutely no one who can claim for sure that they are the experts.
If
They are
you
the
go to
ones who
municipal
can.
authority for that.
No, they don't have that. Let
So
me
let's-
tell you.
let's,
Now,
typical-
let me complete. What I am trying to say, and this is the answer for your question. The solution lies only in making these people, training them in the specific trades and preparing them. It is not that this work has not been started. It has started almost like about year and a half ago. As a matter of fact, this week itself, we are going to be sitting and discussing about making the health assessment systems for the bridges that you have there. I'm talking of the highway bridges, apart from the buildings. Even bridges are a very major area of concern for that matter. Recently, you heard that news. This
Calcutta.
even in Delhi also, you had this
Yeah.
spalling of concrete which came out.
Yeah.
God forbid if there is a span that sinks down, you can imagine what kind of massacre it would cause.
Yeah.
So you have to start on that, and the journey has been started. You see, I'll compare it like this, that when in 50s and 60s you went to a doctor who used to be a GP, he will simply give you some kind of medicines depending on the kind of crude diagnosis that he will make. But now today, when you go to a hospital or nursing home, they will spend almost like about 90% of the time doing diagnosis only. And there are specialized equipment that are needed for that. Similarly, even for structures also, you have to know where exactly the flaw lies. And then there are profometers which will tell you where exactly the rusting has set in the reinforcement, where the spalling is taking place, why the spalling is taking place. All those things you have to understand.
Dr. Swaroop, a large number of queries
Yeah.
have started coming in.
Sure, sure.
We have Mukesh Kumar of Mumbai who says he lives in a 20 years old society in Mumbai.
Sure.
How can we go for redevelopment? Now, I'll contextualize it by two things that I'm sure many of us know.
Yeah.
On 16th of July 2019 in Dongri, South Mumbai, 14 people died and 9 were injured because a building
Collapsed.
collapsed.
Yeah.
In this case, one of the major things was that in that entire Dongri region, there is a lot of unauthorized redevelopment that is happening.
Sure.
So when you go for redevelopment, and that's where I thought it is important to tell Mukesh Kumar that when you go for redevelopment, what are a checklist of what you should look for when you are looking for somebody who will go for redevelopment.
It
Now, is
will-
a 20-year-old building, so do you think that it is unsafe?
It can happen to a building which is hardly about 5 years old also.
Okay, why?
There are extraneous reasons. I'll tell you, if you have a structure which is existing and close by near the foundations, if you start digging out some kind of a pit which will expose the foundation, the soil will flow
So
out.
can it be shown in the pillar or beam or pillar somewhere so that I could be alarmed and go to?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure.
So it should be visible.
Oh, sure.
And it will be visible.
Absolutely. You know,
Okay.
the first manifestation will come that the cracking will start.
Okay.
It never collapses. You see,
Okay.
the structures that we are constructing in India, we have somehow a fetish with cementatious construction.
Okay.
And it takes a little time before it collapses
So
finally.
now what he should do? In
Yeah.
this case?
So in this particular case, what he has to, discover and find out is that where exactly the underground utilities are laid down. The first thing is foundation that he has to start looking at. And don't look at me like that. There are diagnostic tools available. There are radars and tracers that are available.
But
As
he's
a ma-
asking, can he go for redevelopment? Should he
Depending
See,
on
you raised an issue some time ago, which I would like to tell people that
Mm.
globally, after about 16 to 20 years, there is a option of redevelopment.
Sure.
Today, Indians have also started saying that my lifestyle has changed. Should I go for redevelopment?
Sure.
Should you only go for redevelopment because a structure is unsafe, or should you go for redevelopment because lifestyles have changed?
I think there can be varied reasons, and either of the two reasons would basically prompt you to go for redevelopment.
Okay.
Either of the
Now,
two
now
reasons.
let's go to the next question because it's a logical next
Yeah,
step.
yeah.
One, I would like to put out one more statistic. There are more than 14,000 buildings in Mumbai that are over 50 years old due to age-related instability and lack of maintenance are at a risk of collapse.
Right.
This came from the government.
Right.
Too many of these buildings do not have proper evacuation plans.
Right.
Now, to contextualize it, developers in Gurgaon are not able to get their clearances and their occupancy certificates because they were supposed to have 2 fire exits, and they got only at that time of sanction there was only 1 fire exit that was required. Now, the risk to old structures and new structures are the same. So when old structures did not have fire evacuation measures, should that be redeveloped or should they be retrofitted?
There can be 3 stages to it. The first one is, and it will all start with the kind of diagnosis of the health of the structure. That is something that we have to understand. Now, diagnosis will have to be done, and it has to be done by the people who really understand what exactly it is. As I told you, number of such people is pretty low in this country.
What is the profile of that person?
He is essentially a civil engineer.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yeah.
that is the first degree or first qualification that he must have. Number 2, he should be familiar with the kind of post-construction stresses that might come in the buildings.
Right.
He must be able to make an analysis of those stresses on the existing structure for that matter. He should be in a position to basically know really that what kind of equipment is to be used to diagnose the certain things. You have to understand how a structure behaves.
Is it taught in the college?
Well, we are taught how to build a new structure. We are taught as to how to calculate the stresses and the strains when you are constructing a new building. But when it comes to the constructed building, then of course there is a redistribution of the stresses that takes place because of several things, because of the age, because of the people who are living in, because of the loading that has been done, and sometimes the imposed loadings that you have there. So you have to basically have that prowess to analyze the kind of stresses as they exist in that building at that point in time. It is almost like this, that when you are say 35 or 40 or 50 even, you go to a doctor, then he goes and does a routine check as far as you are concerned. You know, your blood, urine, whatever you have there, and plus your blood pressure, your eyesight, your heartbeat, and many things. And this is where he finds where exactly the aberrations are. And based on those aberrations, then he comes out and says that looks like your kidneys are not functioning properly.
While Dr. Swarup, while we don't have specialists in this field,
Yeah.
the fact that across the NCR, especially Noida, Greater Noida, an organization like Curry and Brown was asked to assess the health of the structures that came up in Noida and Greater Noida in the last 5 years. The fact is that there are, I wouldn't say there aren't any professionals who can. The professional that you need to go to has to be a civil engineer. He should be able to assess the stress.
Normally,
patterns.
Jasri, what you will find that this engineer will go and observe the building.
Yeah.
Have you seen anybody
Coming
going
with
with
an
certain equipment and measuring
Doing the
the
thing.
We haven't done that.
Jasmine, let me also
in
tell-
India,
let-
what you are
But-
taught.
Let
You are saying that
let me also tell you, if I have to make a simile, I will tell you that this is a great opportunity that this country is missing now.
Yes.
Because the reason is that we have built huge assets. I'll go back to the kind of announcement which was made in the union budget this time. One is talking about 100 lakh crores of rupees have to be spent. Now, where exactly this money is going to be spent? What are the new areas which can generate employment? Now, as
construction of the new building.
as partially, no, I'm simply saying.
That's not the
this-
Prime
no,
Minister
no,
made.
the
That's
simplest,
happening
no,
easily.
I think the wisdom prevails there. A lot of wisdom prevails there. And you have to understand this. If you talk about 100 lakh crores of rupees, divide that with 5 years, that is about, average is 20 lakh crores of rupees. The virgin construction that this country does, I'm not talking about the real estate speculation. In the best of the years, that was around 2012 or 13, when our growth rate used to be something like 11-12%, double-digit growth, was about 4 to 4.5 lakh crores of rupees. So now you are talking about 20 lakh crores of rupees. Now where exactly it is going to come from? I give you another analysis here. And this is a very interesting analysis which not a lot of people have thought about. I'm sure somebody sitting in the government has done that. Last 20-25 years, we have now accumulated assets, housing, bridges, airports, railroads, whatever you have, worth about average 3.5 to 4 lakh crores of rupees per year. The aggregated sum comes to how much now in last 20-25 years? That's 100 lakh crores of rupees. 10 lakh crores of rupees is the minimum money now required to be spent on the maintenance of these assets in case we want these assets to go on.
So, Dr. Swarup, we've got a large number of consumers out there,
Yeah.
and it's no use
Let me-
telling them
let
that
me-
there is nobody
let me-
who can
let me-
help you.
Let me complete. So 10 lakh crores of rupees, and that basically brings in the justification for 50 lakh crores of rupees, which will come into the maintenance of it. Of course, new structures will be constructed, no doubt about it. But then the maintenance is equally important. Now, how do we go about doing that? And who's responsible? That's another question
Yeah.
that you asked for. Let me tell you, we have 3 agencies who are involved here. One is the consumer himself, who is actually owning the property or living in it. The second one is basically the regulatory agencies. I am putting them together in one basket. You
Who are the regulatory?
The municipal corporation,
Mhm.
the RERA now that you have there, or in some cases the the municipal boards or PWD. No, PWD is a construction agency actually. They are not responsible for upkeep and maintenance. Ownership goes with the municipal corporations only ultimately. They collect the taxation and all. So now coming to that, the statutes are perfect when it comes to the kind of extraneous ill effects that you are bringing on the structure. Like what you said, that there were 2 walls and then in between there was someone who was building up another wall without even understanding. The structural engineers were not consulted. Health diagnostic people were not consulted. And the kind of health diagnosis people that you have today are almost like those, so to say, Vaidya-Rajji.
But how will it be corrected, sir? That is important. No?
This is where the consumer has to basically step in.
Go where?
Okay,
He
we've
has to
got
go
a
to
consumer.
everybody.
We have got a
First of
consumer
all,
who's saying,
first-
1 minute.
Yeah.
We've got a consumer who's Karan Mathur of Delhi, who
Mhm.
says, I'm an RWA member, I want my society to be repaired.
Mhm.
What kind of approvals are required to get the society repaired?
Mhm.
Now, there are 2 issues to this.
Mhm.
One, he has to figure out what has to be repaired,
Mhm.
and 2, does he need approvals to
Approval
get
for that even.
get the repairs done?
My where is he based?
Delhi.
Delhi. And which is this colony? It is
Yes,
under.
exactly.
He has not written that. So depending on which area of Delhi and where exactly he is, because Delhi has 3 municipal corporations, and then you have the cantonment board also. So where exactly, if he is in Badar Sitaram and places like that, then something else will come. But by and large, I can tell
Let's
you-
assume that he's in a
Let's
society that
assume.
can be repaired.
Now, when it comes to basically permissions, then let me tell you the utilities which are basically under the control of municipal corporations, the moment you go and tamper with them, let's say the sewerage outlet that you have or water supply that you have, as long as you are in the confines of the structure that you have there is absolutely no permission that is required, but notification that has to be given, a kind of a structural design and other things in case you are making a fundamental change in the structure. That goes like
Information to MCD.
to municipal corporation
Municipal
To the
corporation.
municipal.
to obtain the permission.
Then
Then
DDA. Now suppose it's a DDA building.
if it is a DDA building and it has not been transferred to Municipal Corporation of Delhi, MCD, you see, DDA is actually the transit point. The structures which have not been handed over to Municipal Corporation of Delhi, depending on whether it is South Delhi Corporation or North
Yeah.
Delhi, whatever, until then it remains with DDA, and DDA is supposed to be collecting the taxes and ultimately paying to the municipal corporation. So in case this has not been handed over to any municipal corporation, then they have to go to DDA to seek the permission, because they de facto are acting as the corporation.
So, Karan Mathur, you have to take your approvals from the DDA if it is not handed over to the
Municipal
corporation, or you have to go to the municipal corporation for the permissions
Yes.
to make structural repairs.
Very good.
There is Vijay Rao of Mumbai who says how much money is required to get your society redeveloped. Should one go to a builder or hire a construction company to do that? Please suggest.
This is like asking a question that how much would it cost me to buy a house? Now you have to tell me how big is the society, what is the area, where exactly it is. Nobody can give you a kind of a outright estimate just
But
like
there
that.
is there are a couple of things that we can tell Vijay Rao, which is that if the FAR has gone up in that locality, what will happen is if there were 100 houses that were built earlier, today you can build more than 100 houses.
Of the
Then-
same size.
Of the same size.
Or if the size
So-
is increasing, then you can have the same number of houses, the bigger size.
Yes.
Area of
Then
the-
what will happen is that the remaining houses can be monetized to fund the redevelopment,
yeah.
and a lot of societies are actually doing this in Mumbai.
Yeah.
They are able to get, if more than 80% people are amenable to the redevelopment, then you can actually look at how to redevelop this area. But Dr. Swaroop, should he go to a developer or should he go to a construction company?
Again, it is a kind of a mixed up question. What he is asking is, and when you said that he can develop if FAR has gone up, then he can have the surplus area available which he can monetize and things like that. If they have the capability to market, sell, and garner the resources to redevelop, then I think what they need to do is that they should go to a contractor, monitor his act, and basically do the thing. In case they cannot, because you see, the developer acts like an aggregator also. The role of the developer is not merely construction. It is also to monetize the whole thing. It is also to access the market, to sell the excessive property, look at the bylaws and things like that. So in case they have the capabilities, in case they have the strength to do it themselves,
Give us a checklist of what you should look for in capabilities of the construction company or the developer.
that's going to be a pretty long checklist.
No, give us a 5-point checklist that the consumer can
This is
understand.
vital.
Because these are end
You are
consumers.
talking about the developer
Yes.
and you are
No,
talking about the
contractor.
construction company?
Both.
Okay. Now for the developer, I will say look at three things.
Yeah.
Number one, what is the structure of the organization or the governance of this particular company? That is absolutely necessary. Is it ownership? Is it a partnership? It is a private limited company? If it is a family run company or there are professionals who are involved. That's the first thing that you should see. It is always good to have a company which is governed by family as well as
Professionals.
professionals.
Yeah.
That is the best thing. Two, needless to say that you will check anyway, and that is basically the track record as to how long they have been working, what all they have been doing, and have the customers' references made available wherever they say that they have constructed something.
Or what they have constructed so far.
So far.
Check
That-
the previous
Check the
construction.
previous thing. That's the easiest thing that they
Yeah,
can do.
yeah.
Three, if possible, then please visit the properties that have been constructed by this gentleman or this company.
Yeah, the
Okay?
previous projects.
And see for yourself whether there are signs of leakages on the exterior or interior. If there are any problems about not having the fire drill or the fire equipment, fire combating equipment, how exactly are the common areas, how they are basically being developed. And so you can have a kind of a look at the kind of things and then you can take a decision. When it comes to contractor, then always check another 3-4 things. Of course, antecedents and other things that you should see. But please make sure that the supervisors, workers and the engineers that the contractor is employing, they are skill tested and certified.
Does that happen?
It happens. As a matter of fact, Central Public Works Department has now made it mandatory. Even my own state, Tripura, has made it mandatory now to basically have at least 20% of the workers who contractor employs should be skill certified. The supervisors must be skill certified. Even the engineers have to be skill certified. And skill certified means not only owning a degree or a diploma from a college. They should be professional engineers, which means that a third party must have inspected their prowess. And then they would have basically said that yes, they are the
Are there
professionals.
such agency in this country?
There are. As a matter of fact, today the Engineering Council of India has got a stock of more than 4,000 engineers who are spread throughout the country. And to answer your first question again, to satisfy you, possibly one of the avenues that you can use is to go back to those engineers. Talk to them.
So to our consumers who are logged in, if you're looking for a credible agency which can test your building, check out your building, help you redevelop, go to the Engineering Council of India. They have more than 4,000 engineers, tested engineers across the country who have the capability to undertake the maintenance and redevelopment of your building.
But with abundant caution that they must speak and check with Engineering Council of India also,
Yeah.
because there are all kind of engineers who are there among these 4,000. There are design engineers, there are fresh construction engineers, there are
Sure.
engineers who can go for
Sure.
diagnostics.
But there is one agency that Dr. Swaroop has mentioned, the Engineering Council of India. At least you will be able to check with them whether the engineers who are working with you are indeed qualified or not. Then there is Rakesh Singh of Lakshmi Nagar who says, I live in my house in Delhi and my house is 20 years old. The house needs repair and requires some money to be spent. Should I spend in redevelopment or buy a flat? Now, this is a choice that only you can make. If you are able to redevelop that flat and make it safe, it is and it also depends on whether you really want to stay there or you want to shift your lifestyle to a flatted
Flat,
accommodation. But the options, both the options are there with you. What we can tell you is, what if you look for a flat, go for one that is completed, go for one that is registered, that is if it is less than 5 years, then you know that if there are any structural flaws that come in, you can go to the RERA authority and there will be a recourse to get it reconstructed while that zero defect liability period is there.
Jashi, I'd like to butt in here
Yes,
and give
please.
another piece of advice to him.
Yeah.
In the present time, you have huge stock of properties that are lying unoccupied. My suggestion will be, wait for at least a couple of years before you think of even going for redevelopment. This is not the time for redevelopment. I would not advise.
What?
It is not the time for redevelopment.
Why
Why?
are you so-
I will tell you. The average return, after all, when you redevelop, you are either going to sell or you are going to rent it out. Now, if you rent it out, the average return is less than 3%. And if your money is lying in the bank, still it is fetching you 6.5 to 7%. So it is prudent.
But never it fetches more than 1.5 to 2%, sir, in this.
Where?
In India. In residential property, if you invest whatever amount,
Yeah.
the yield on that through rent
Yeah.
is 1.5 to 2%.
So
now that means.
So it will not be a good advice to the the
But
person.
he's doing it for
to-
self-use. He's not.
No, he's
not
talking
asking
of, when
for
he talks of
returns.
redevelopment, then he definitely does mean that he can sell it and he can move out to a flat. This is basically.
Sir, but still those flat whose rent is 20,000 rupees are selling for 1 crore rupees.
Fine.
So if what you are saying, even we keep talking about that,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
but still in India, people do buy flat.
Yeah, they do buy flat for three
Despite
reasons.
the fact
Let-
that,
let
I
me
mean-
let me tell you, they do buy flat for three reasons. And those who buy the flat for the purpose of living themselves, they are the best people and they are the most comfortable people. Those who think that they are going to be hedging against the inflation and putting the money in a safe kind of situation, my own suggestion is that please don't do that. This is not the time. 3, if you are trying to sell it out, then of course there is absolutely, this is not the time. Because there is so much of surplus property, then it will become a kind of an albatross around your neck if you do
This
that.
is a very difficult topic to discuss.
Mahesh
Let's
Pandey
talk about
of
this.
Chandigarh asks, how should we check whether a building has a long time and good construction?
Building has it?
Long time, what he means is
The life is long.
Yeah.
How can we check?
Yeah.
Well, go to the engineers who can basically make a check and let you know whether it is in sound condition or not. That is the only thing that we can say.
There are some things that Dr. Swaroop mentioned a little while ago. Check the track record of the developers, check their previous buildings. if those buildings have seepage patches or cracks and things like that, then you know that the track record is not quite what you're looking for. If those buildings are in good condition, also remember that there are developers and there are developers. There are some who build the assets and who manage the assets into the future. Even if you go to their buildings after 10 years, 15 years, you find that the buildings are in good condition, the whitewash is there, the assets are well managed, the lifts are in good working condition and so
So
on.
the most important factor in any building is that there should not be any open patches.
Absolutely.
Where the water could seep in and then your the iron rods and all that
Yes.
was rusted. If that happens, the life of building shortens
Absolutely.
like anything.
Yeah.
And you will have to maintain the building. If you keep maintaining the building, the life can go on for 100
So,
years.
so the important thing is go and check out other previous projects of that developer and see whether you want to do that.
And you'll have to maintain it also in
Yes.
future also.
Yeah.
If you want to redevelop your own building, remember that there is going to be a cost, and like Dr. Swaroop said, when you rebuild, you're going to have more than just your living space. And right now, if you were planning to sell off some part of it, this is not a seller's market, this is a buyer's market. You won't get the best value for that property. Lalit Sharma of Mumbai he stays in a Mumbai society and want to go for redevelopment, but there are many people who do not want to pay for the cost in the society. What should we do? Lalit, this is where I said that if there is excess capacity in that plot where you can build more units, then you should be able to, there are many developers who come in and say, we will build for you, but the excess units after the construction, they sell off and they monetize it. But we have seen that while if the association is strong, it works well. But if the association leaves it to the developers, in many cases, people have been defrauded of their
Exactly. Because of
houses
that,
as
mainly
well.
people don't want to buy these
Absolutely.
arguments. Otherwise,
But Jashi, his question was that some of the members of the society are not willing to go in for
Payment.
Payment.
They cannot pay the
They
money.
cannot pay.
So
If that cannot happen, then unfortunately you cannot really take the next
No, many
step
developers-
unless somebody says that yes, we are going to bear the burden. Then only, you write off that particular.
no, sir, it's not that only.
No,
Now,
no.
look, it is a society. Now, if the 60% or certain number is proves that okay, we will go for the redevelopment, then that number will also go for the redevelopment, or otherwise a separate unit will be constructed on his behalf and that will be sold in the market. Like here in Delhi, now after this metro, lot of these societies have come up which have extra FAR available. Now these guys are applying for the redevelopment. Now there are some retired fellow who says that I don't want any additional space. I know one of the society, I don't want to name it here. And there I talked to the society guy, so what is the problem? He says that look, there are some retired fellow and they have enough space right now, 3 bedroom, they don't want any additional space.
Sure.
Because during the construction they'll have to shift out. They'll have to stay somewhere else. They don't want that kind of a problem even that I don't want to. But then the society took a decision and they are telling them, because you'll have to shift out, we will take the problem, we will shifting you there and we will take all the things. But if you will not pay, then we will construct additional space for that and we will sell that in the market and recover money.
Okay. Whatever.
And when the majority decides it,
See,
you can't say that no.
these are basically the kind of typical commercial solutions that
Yeah.
will come depending on
So
the
ultimately development has to take place.
yes. And there's Ashish Kumar of Faridabad who says, we live in a society and it is a new society constructed just 10 years ago. The possession was delayed. Now we can see that plaster is coming out and there are many cracks. What should we do in this case?
Go back to the engineers. As a matter of fact, let him basically get connected to us because we are sitting right in Faridabad only. And
So if
Yeah.
there's a CIDC facility in Faridabad, Ashish, if you are listening to us, you can go to the CIDC and they should be able to help you do the structural check. There's Avni Kalra of Chandigarh who says, how should one check whether construction quality of a building is good or bad? A checklist here,
is
Mr.
the
Swaroop?
same answer. I mean, many of
Dr.
these questions.
Swaroop has actually spoken to us in a previous show where he has said how to check the quality of your building. Maybe we should reiterate those issues.
Okay, now there are three stages that I would talk about. One is that when the building is being constructed, that is the time. And this is the time when you have to start looking at what kind of material is being used, whether it is being tested in a laboratory or not. Please understand that even the bricks, sand, aggregate and cement that you are having, this has to be checked and it has to conform to certain Indian standards.
If this does not happen, what happened in Mumbai, in Dongri, can happen, because
That's
there it
right.
was the poor quality of building material
Right.
which led to the collapse of the
Right.
structure.
So I think one thing which you have to do is check the contractor or developer, the kind of material that he is using. Does he have some kind of quality certificates for them or not, and who has issued those certificates? That is the first part of it. Second, again I repeat the same statement which I made earlier. Please check the kind of workers, the supervisors and the engineers who are employed on the job to execute it. Are they really skilled or not? Do they possess some kind of skill certificates or not? Don't go merely by their degrees and diplomas as far as engineers are concerned. They have to be professional engineers. For the workers, of course, there are number of organizations who are issuing their skill certificates after checking them. Please make a kind of a rain check on that. That
If you
is-
ask your builder whether your workforce is skill certified, will they let consumers know?
They have to. As a matter of fact, you don't become their consumer until such time they agree to do it.
Right?
You don't sign the agreement with them. You please
But
make
what will that
insist.
do when one is living in a building and finding certain problems?
Huh.
And how
So
to-
I spoke about when the whole thing is being constructed or you have kind of gone into inception stage. That is the first part of it.
Yeah.
Second is that now you have started living in building, it has been constructed the way it has been constructed. It is at that point in time that the first manifestation that you will see will be the water patches. The second manifestation that you will see will be the cracks on the plaster and things like that. That is the second manifestation. And of course, the third manifestation that will come, that is going to be almost like a warning. It's like second or third stage of what to say.
So these are
What
all
is that?
water related, right?
Third stage of cancer for that matter.
What is
No,
that?
what is
And that is actually, if the reinforcement put in there, it is rusted, then this will end up into spoiling the concrete wherever it is.
How will I see that?
You will see because of the cracks for that matter. The moment somebody puts a chisel there and removes that chunk of concrete, you will see that your reinforcement is rusted. And if it is rusted, then there are treatments that one has to do. There are cathodic protection that you can put. It is something like you do earthing for your electrification that you do in your house so that you know the surplus energy.
But this rusting is invariably one will find, no? Find. I mean,
No.
any patches.
No, no,
where the
no.
peels
There
off.
is a difference in the type of rusting, and that is another thing which is a matter of experts. You see, what happens is that rusting is actually oxidation of the material.
Yeah.
And the first coat that you have, it is actually kind of a preventive coat. As a matter of fact,
The
it is
primer.
helpful.
The primer.
It's like a if the rusting comes, it is like a primer.
Yeah.
It basically protects the reinforcement. But if it continues beyond that, and if it is not properly coated for that matter, then you will find that pittance will start coming. You will find that the structure of the reinforcement bar that you have, you will find that there are pits in there. And when those pits are observed, and that is something which possibly as a layman you can't do that. It is only an expert who will have a look at that and tell you that well this is right or wrong. As a matter of fact, many of the old masons also, by the virtue of their years of experience, they also know about it. So they will let you know that this is the problem.
So can I call my mason and say that there is this patch which is where the plaster is peeling off? Break this up and repair it, or
No,
What should I do then?
you should definitely ask him to peel it out, watch it, and then seek the advice of someone who knows exactly what has gone wrong. There can be minor aberrations and there can be major aberrations.
So the issue here is that while we understand that asset qualities have not been taken care of and our buildings are aging from 20 years to about 100 years, in many cases because
Water must be seeping into
water is seeping in and so on. The silver lining to the grey cloud is that there are about 4,000 engineers across the country who have been certified, who are qualified, who are registered with the Engineering Council of India, to whom you can go and check whether this is whether they will do a
It can
audit
be
of your.
corrected.
Yeah, it can be corrected.
And the
The
good news is that it can be corrected.
You see,
Yeah.
you see, when in these days, you can transplant the kidneys, you can transplant the heart, you can transplant the liver, you can transplant even the limbs for that matter. Then what is there? A structure can definitely be corrected.
So
That
there
not a
is
problem.
Manu Gaur of Greater Noida who lives in Greater Noida West. This society is new, but the construction quality is very poor. What should we do? Go to RERA. This is one person whom I can give you a solution. Manu Gaur, go to RERA. Any building that is less than 5 years old, you go to RERA. RERA will ensure that your building is checked out and corrected,
Yeah.
and the deficiencies are removed.
The structural deficiency will certainly.
And
be
you
removed.
don't have to go after looking for professionals. Your developer is mandated to repair that and give you a safe structure. There is Vivek Singh. There is a poll that we have going on right now. If you could take the poll, would you go for redevelopment of your society? It's a yes or no question. Do take the poll. We'll tell you the answer at the end of the show. There is Vivek Singh of Chennai who says, what is better in terms of construction quality, builder flow or high-rise society? Now this is something that a lot of people are, especially those markets which have had the propensity to have bungalows and today have high-rise buildings. Is a high-rise building safe enough?
See, both of them are safe if they are constructed properly. If the kind of safety measures that are prescribed there, they are actually followed and adhered to properly, there is absolutely no problem in either of the two cases. It all depends on what kind of ambience one is looking at. Some people like living in bungalows, some people like living in low height flats for that matter, and some people definitely do like to live on 17th story or 18th story and things like that. But difficulty that comes in here is that in many of the high-rise buildings, the biggest bottleneck is that many of the municipal corporations do not even have the snorkels. God forbid if there is an incidence of fire. Where exactly are the kind of pumping sets that are available? Where is the snorkel so that some people can be evacuated? This is where the problem comes. And same thing in the builder's flats also. In the builder flat, the problem is of poor quality of construction. That is another issue that ails. Of course, even in the high-rise structures also the same thing can happen. So I think a robustly constructed structure is something one should look at. And then of course it's your choice. Where you want
Ritik
to go.
Kumar has an add-on question there. He's from Noida. He says, how safe a high-rise society in terms of handling the earthquake? Right now my society, there are many cracks in the towers and waterlogging takes place during heavy rains.
Okay. Now earthquake resistance that comes because a building has been designed properly and constructed properly. When I say designed properly, what you have to understand is that earthquake loads that are basically instantaneous, they can work in 3 dimensions, they can work also as a kind of in a rotating motion also. So it puts the structure in a very crucial kind of situation, you know. It is highly stressing for that matter, and it depends on the intensity of earthquake that comes.
Sure.
If it has been designed as per proper codal provisions, there is absolutely no problem. As a matter of fact, if you look at Japan for that matter, it is famous for intermittent earthquakes, so much so that almost all the housing colonies there or all the structures, it is mandatory for them to have a seismometer put in the structure, so that the central control room keeps getting the kind of things, vibration, etc., and they know where exactly the epicenter is. So you can have the high rise there in Tokyo. Why can you not have it here in Delhi? There is no reason for that. But the caveat is, and the rider is, that it must be constructed properly according to the statutes. It must be designed properly. Unfortunately, many of our designers, they have absolutely no idea as to what they are designing.
Even designer,
Even designers. those who claim to be designers.
Then
And the biggest misnomer is,
what about the quality?
no,
of
I'm telling you, and the biggest misnomer is that most of our consumers do not understand the difference between the role of an architect and a structural designer. This is another problem. Majority of the cases you will see it is the architect himself who will profess that I have done this and this is perfectly fine. I've seen situations where those who did not realize that I was a civil engineer and the fellow was trying to explain to me that I have put some
authority should
extra
not pass the map, no?
Uh,
that's another very
But
big issue.
when
actually.
you talk about the authority, Prabhakar, one of the things that we have is that the Maharashtra government is likely to issue the ordinance for redevelopment of 14,000 old and dilapidated buildings in Mumbai. The 8-member committee headed by the housing minister supported this report under the development control rule of 33(7), cluster development and individual building development scheme. Now, after being approved by the state law and judiciary department, it will be sanctioned by the chief minister in the next cabinet. It will then pave the way for redevelopment of these 14,000 buildings. Now, Dr. Swarup, we would like to raise one issue that we have raised in a previous show. There are some buildings in Ghaziabad which were built by the Ghaziabad Development Authority, close to about, I think, 15 years ago, and today those houses are unsafe, and they have got it checked by the CBRI Roorkee. They've got it checked by a couple of agencies that they could think of. Like you have said, that there are not enough agencies. Even those people who have problems do tend to go to those places where they think that they will find solutions. Now, any agency which has checked out these buildings has said that these buildings need to be torn down and rebuilt. But the Ghaziabad Development Authority still maintains that it can actually correct the problem, retrofit and let these buildings be. There is an agitation that these owners have been doing for a long time. What would be your suggestion here?
I think what they need to do is that in this particular case, I can see that Ghaziabad Development Authority is trying to pass the buck and find a very easy and simple solution at the cost of the consumers who are living there. Now, depending on what is the stage of damage, I do not know that, but then in case CBRI and others also have condemned it, then I have no reason to disbelieve them that these structures must be turned down totally. So,
whom should they approach?
They must go to the court of law, in my opinion. They should immediately move to the court of law because this is going to cause a danger to their life and limb and to property, and they should immediately move to the court of law without any delay, in my opinion.
The same person, Ritik Kumar, who asked that there are cracks in the towers and waterlogging during heavy rains, and we are in the rainy season.
Sure.
What would you tell them to do?
Are you talking of the same property?
Yes, yes.
As I told you.
Not the Ghaziabad property, but
Okay.
the Noida, the one that we were discussing.
This really has to be seen. It has to be seen, and then only some advice can be given. But waterlogging per se, for a small time that you have there, is not something which is very bad, and you should not be alarmed about it. It
But
is not
cracks
something
in
good
the
either.
building?
But the cracks are something which is a different matter.
So if you are in the Delhi NCR region, you know that the CIDC is in Delhi. You may want to check out the CIDC and see whether.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. There is Mihir Pandey of Faridabad who says, I want to understand, should you go for redevelopment or repairing? My society is 20 years old. How do we check when we go for repairing or redevelopment? What are the indications that you need to go for redevelopment?
Redevelopment, primarily, as I explained, is basically because of several reasons, which may not be always the strength of the structure and structural safety and things like that. Redevelopment because they want to basically add up more area, they want to earn more money or whatever,
Let's keep that aside. Let's talk about structural.
Structural, one can only talk about it when he has seen the kind of thing. It's almost like this.
So what are the indications that
for
you
a
should
20-year-old building?
For a 20-year-old building, what should
20-year-old
we check?
building, the water seepage or the water patches in the wet areas that you have there, that is a very commonplace kind of thing.
But it can be corrected also.
It can be, sure, it can be corrected, no doubt about
So
it.
besides...
No, it is not redevelopment, it is basically repair.
Correct, sir.
Repair
Repair
or
is
retrofitting,
Yeah.
this is what it is. Then in case this building has got a basement, which is underground basement, that is an area to be very, very carefully looked into. The third area, which is extremely important in case of 20 years old building, is to check the joints of beams and columns everywhere.
Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah.
How does an individual or a society do that?
It will start with the physical, or rather I would say visual inspection to begin with. Let them basically make out where exactly such kind of cracks are appearing, because that is the first manifestation that you have. That tells you that yes, this is the area where you have the problem. Rusting of reinforcement, if there are portions where reinforcement is jutting out and nobody has tried to cover it.
That means the balconies and so on, or
Generally, you know what happens, Yashvi, in this case is that in many cases where construction engineers are not careful enough or they are not experienced, what they do is, for the sake of some future construction, they will always leave behind something
Yes.
what you call as dowels.
Yeah.
And these dowels are basically open to the sky.
Yeah.
And this is the area which basically picks up the rusting. And rusting is an electrochemical process which travels throughout the structure within the body, like cancer.
Yeah.
So, if you have to check up all those exposed reinforcement or any other steel section that you have there, and see whether wherever they are connected, are there any cracks, are there any spalling. Let me explain to you what happens in case of reinforcement. When it gets rusted, then it enhances in the volume, and the moment it enhances in the volume, it basically has a tendency to crush the concrete which is surrounding it. So therefore you see many of those cracks and spallings come out, and that is the kind of thing with that you should be wary of. You should be very cautious about those things, and if that is the case,
There's no need to be alarmed. There's no need
you
to go
have
for
to be
correction.
alarmed and you have to immediately rush to somebody and seek the redressal as to how do we go about that.
We want to tell you why we are picking up this issue. This is an issue which concerned us very much because of the building collapses that happened. And I want to just, Deepak, if you can put it up right now, the number of incidents of building collapses in India, we are talking about the Delhi NCR region, the NCR Planning Board's statistics. There were, the number of collapses that have happened. There has been a regularity of building collapses from 2001 to 2015, and it goes on, right? And this is the NCR Planning Board statistics. Deepak, are we seeing the
Yeah.
property? The slide, and also the number of deaths that happen. We believe that this is a lot of this could be preventable, and to prevent that, what Dr. Swaroop says, this is a very new issue in India. We are not very careful about the quality of our assets. We buy a house, but we don't maintain them. When we don't maintain them, like he said, it could just be one exposed saria, and which got which started rusting, and it can spread through the rest of your structure. If you are not careful, we are only sensitizing you that this is important, and the quality of questions that we are getting shows that people are concerned. But are there enough solutions available? Maybe not yet. But the point is that we did want to raise this issue and start this debate. There is a question from Nitin Rajput who says, building quality check करने में कितना खर्चा आता है?
Okay. You see, let me just give a small bit of a good news to all your, the people who are asking questions and
Yeah.
who are basically participating here. That, as I told you, that the real work and the right earnest has already started, almost like about a year and a half and 2 years ago, we had actually picked this up. Realizing that in last 20 to 25 years, there were 3 or 4 reasons for this. The first was that we knew that definitely health diagnostic and repair of the structure is something that has to be done for the purposes or reason of well-being of the consumers for that matter. So we had to start working at it. Knowing fully well that not enough number of people were available, neither the cases were available. You see, there is another problem that we have. The forensic surgery or the kind of post-disaster analysis in many of these cases has also not been done. So my institution has actually started working on that now. So we are collecting and collating the information. Why I told this is that we will be very happy if there are cases and if there are people who come to us and they say that yes, we would like our structure to be inspected. they will be contributing to this particular science. It's almost like a doctor, unless otherwise.
Will it be free of cost?
No, it is not going to be free of cost, but it will depend exactly where we have to send the person, how do we have to send the, what
In
kind
Delhi
of equipment.
particularly, if somebody is asking.
Well, it is just going to be the cost for that matter.
How
It is
much?
not going. It
5,000,
will be the
10,000?
traveling cost, maybe 5,000 or something.
That's
like
all.
that. That's all. Nothing more than
And
that.
you will come with the equipment.
We will come with the equipment, what is required, we will give a report for that matter. This is basically just for the purposes of research that we are doing. This is not something which is commercial.
So if any of you in the NCR region, if you have a problem and you want to get your structural safety checked out, write in to us. You can write in at editor@magicbricks.com and we will pass it on to the CIDC. And the CIDC says for a nominal cost of about 5,000 rupees, the CIDC will bring its material, its structural engineers will come and check the safety of the structure. Now, many of you have already written about Noida, you've written about Ghaziabad. Why don't you write in to us, editor@magicbricks.com, and we will be happy to pass on the leads to CIDC. Like I said, it's a very nascent subject, it's a very new subject, but it is something where people are losing lives. And the reason why we're picking it up is because people are actually dying out of neglect of the safety of structures. There is Deepak Singh who says in Shaberi, Noida last year, a building caved in, but people still live in houses of same type and in the same society. How should the owners of such illegal societies ensure safety of their houses?
No, I think if given to me, honestly speaking, I will say that they should be booked under the crime of euthanasia. It is almost like seeking a permission to kill yourself. Why exactly do you have to really do this kind of a monkey trick?
Because you don't have another house to stay in, I guess.
Doesn't matter. Suppose if the structure would have been raised to the ground itself, without any bricks or something like that, I am sure that these people would have picked up the rubble and brick and they would have put some kind of a talpatri and started living there. But how many of them? Let's say if this is a 5-storied building. One has to understand that we can always do the things breaking the rules and regulations. If we see the regulations of any municipal corporation since time immemorial, I am talking about ever since the urban settings were there, this is supposed to be a crime. You are party to the crime. Okay?
So what we would say is that if you feel that your house is unsafe, and here is the answer to your question, if you feel it's unsafe but you're not quite sure whether this building is unsafe, do write in to us at editor@magicbricks.com. We will send it to CIDC, and since it is in the Delhi NCR region, it should be something that these diagnostics will help them evolve a plan for safety of structures.
But let me ask one more question to such people for that matter. Do you take out your car on the road without getting it insured and getting yourself insured? Do you do that? When you can enforce the law that nobody can drive a car which is not insured, then why can you not have a situation? And this one is a very, very big area for work also for this country that we have to understand.
Absolutely.
Very, very big area. And this was another reason why we have started working feverishly on this. My own estimate is that if we have to, I told you about that annual budget provisions that you have there, almost 50% of it, ideally speaking, should come out of this particular work. We are talking of something like more than 10 crore people getting employment because of this particular reason. There's going to be a lot of business for the construction companies, even for the developers who decide tomorrow to get into the maintenance business. But let it be scientific maintenance. It should not be something where, somebody just goes, says that I can do the things and whatever. It's a huge, huge business opportunity for people. You have to understand that.
And there are the last two questions of the evening. Nitin Kumar, who wants to build a room on the terrace. But I want to know if my house is capable of handling and bearing the pressure of an extra room. How to do that?
Come, show me the designs. We will have to check what exactly is the structural system that you have. And without getting an okay, please, for heaven's sake, don't put up a room just like that.
You cannot, it is illegal to put up a room on your terrace. The terrace belongs to you.
It's dangerous.
It is
More than
dangerous,
dangerous.
and like
It can
you
kill
have,
you.
you have clearly said that you want to know whether it is safe enough. The foundation is normally created according to the weight of the building.
The strength of walls,
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
things come in the way.
So therefore, if you want to do anything extra, one, you have to consult a structural engineer. Two, you have to get the municipal permissions before
Sure,
you do
sure,
anything like
sure.
this, or you will be endangering not only your life but others as
Others
well.
level.
And the last question of the evening, Anurag Kumar of Pandav Nagar. I live in Pandav Nagar. There is a building coming up next to my house. Does new construction nearby impact the construction of your house as well? Please suggest what should we do.
Sure, it does. In case suppose your neighbor is going to be constructing a huge basement and start digging it without having proper props and kind of support of the pit that he will be digging, and God forbid if there is rain or some kind of hailstorm or whatever happens, then in that case there is a possibility that soil might go soft and your structure might slide in the pit itself. So it is something which can happen.
So what should
You
we
can
do?
also, you have to be perfectly scientific, follow the procedures. In most of these cases, the systems are that you have to prop out the whole thing. You have to design the props properly. You have to support the foundation of the neighboring structure.
MCD, I mean, the guy who is going to construct must take the permission from the MCD.
Yeah.
And MCD comes and check it that whether the proper methodology is being pursued or not. And if not, then he can stop from
Yeah.
doing.
You can go to the municipal authorities and
Yeah.
ask them to check whether your structure,
Exactly.
the safety of your structure is maintained. And that's where we're going to end this show. We had a poll running. Would you like to go for redevelopment of your society? 75% of people want to redevelop. Only 25% said no. We find, according to the queries that have come today, people with societies of 20 years and above are the ones who are interested. Two reasons. One, where Dr. Swaroop said that these houses are the quality of life or it becomes a little outdated, and that's why many of them want to go for upgrades. In these 20 years, you also see that there will, after every 15 to 20 years, there should be a preventive diagnostic check of a building. We don't have that practice in India, but that is what is leading to more and more disasters. We do urge you to give this a serious thought. Should you check the safety of your buildings? Dr. Swaroop said, go to the Engineering Council of India, go to CIDC. If you have any problems, you can write in to editor@Magic Bricks, and we would be happy to pass it on to these councils. Thank you so much for watching This Week in Property. I'm Jayashree Guru. This is Prabhakar Sinha and Dr. T.R. Swaroop.
Thank you so much.